What do you do when the person God sends to help you move your career further doesn't believe the same things that you do? When the mentor who can open the door that you've been praying for years has a lifestyle that contradicts everything you stand for? Do you run away from the relationship, or do you keep your mouth shut and take the access just the way it is? Or do you try to convert them before they corrupt you? Many kingdom creatives do this the wrong way. They either handle the relationship too rigidly and lose it, or they handle the relationship too loosely and lose themselves. But there's a third way, and that's what we're dealing with in this video. Now, first thing to understand is that many of the people you're going to learn the most from are not going to be people who share your convictions, especially within the creative industries. The most excellent people in theater, for example, are not Christians. Go to tech, the people who are making the most impact have absolutely no spiritual convictions whatsoever. But you see the skill, they know it like the back of their hands. And even in the Bible, we see this happen in so many ways. Moses, for example, learned a lot from being inside the palace and being treated as one of Pharaoh's sons. He literally learned a lot from the systems of administration, of building things, of managing people. You look at Joseph in the house of Potiphar and then eventually Pharaoh. He literally functioned in that completely secular system. You look at Daniel in Babylon as well, and then you look at Esther in a pagan court. All of them learned from secular structures without becoming ungodly people in the process. So by the end of this video, you would have the framework for how to navigate such situations, might you come across them, or if you're currently in the middle of something similar. Now, point number one is separate skill from character. In one of the videos I posted on my Instagram that went viral talking about Rema, I mentioned something in that video where I said that I learn a lot from Rema as a music artist, the professional part of his artistry, not the worldview of his artistry. Most of the things he sings about, I do not agree with. But do I believe that this is someone who I can learn from in terms of his use of melody, rhythm, pacing, and structure in his music and his album project? Of course. It is important to separate the skill from the character of the person. Separate their philosophies from the excellency of their art. Learn the technique and filter away the negative or ungodly worldviews that they have. That's the first most important thing that you need to do. Now, point number two, have a list of what you're looking out for in a mentor. I'll give you 3 things that you can start from. First of all, look for somebody who is actually competent in their work. Like, it needs to be somebody who is excellent at what they're doing. And if peradventure this person doesn't share your faith, then the other 2 things matter. First of all is that they are concerned about your growth as an artist, as a creative, right? They need to be concerned about your growth from an individual point of view, right? And second of all, they need to respect your worldview even if they don't agree with it, right? You are not a believer, you're an atheist, for example, but you respect me as a Christian and as your mentee. You don't insult me, you don't make me feel less of myself, or you don't say things like, oh, this is your Christianity thing, what are you even doing? Or you don't try to attack my faith, right? These things are important. So you need to make sure that they respect your worldview, they respect your religion, your spirituality, even if they do not follow the same. Now, I'm going to bring up something here, which is the fact that sometimes you might have a mentor who you are learning from, but they do not know you, right? For example, I learn a lot from Michael Jackson. In fact, he's even not alive at the moment, so obviously he cannot know me, right? But I learn a lot. I've read books about Michael Jackson. I've watched videos. I continue to watch videos about his training sessions, his routines, and things like that. So in a lot of sense, he's like a mentor to me, but a distant one, not a direct one. So of course, some of these things don't apply. First of all, it doesn't apply that he respects my worldview because he doesn't know me directly to respect it. And second of all, he doesn't genuinely, I don't know if he genuinely cares about my growth because he doesn't know me personally and all of that. But the first thing I mentioned applies everywhere, which is that they must be excellent and competent in their work. Now, point number 3 is to establish clearly who you are from the beginning. So when you meet somebody that you respect, let them know up front that this is who I am. I'm a Christian and I operate from a kingdom worldview, a kingdom perspective. I do not do this, I do not do that. In fact, some of these things you don't have to say. They will just see it and they will know. Or they will ask you, why didn't you do this? Or why did you do this? And then you can say, oh, because I'm a Christian and it doesn't align with my values. And so this is just who I am. But if from the beginning you've already begun to compromise, you started saying things that you heard them say just so that they can, Yoruba will say, Faemora, they will bring you closer. You have already started spoiling the whole thing if that's your approach. So from the onset, be clear on who you are. And now I know that one of the things creatives will be scared of is I don't want them to push me away because I'm too spiritual or things like that. But the truth is, everybody will keep a valuable person around them. So what you are afraid of is a pointer to the fact that your value is not yet at the point that it should be. So you need to build yourself to the point where you are competent in your skills and in your ability to create art that moves people and makes things happen, so that when you are in spaces with such people who do not believe what you believe, you can stand your ground convictions wise and they will still want you around and keep you around because you are a valuable person. Nobody will say, I don't want to work with this guy because he's a Christian and I'm not. If this guy has something that I need, I will definitely bring him in. So that's the perspective to have. So if you find yourself scared, then you know what to do. Point number 4, know when to leave. So over the course of your relationship with a mentor, you will be able to identify if some of the things we mentioned in point number 2, like competence, their genuine interest in your growth, and their respect for your spiritual principles and values, you'll be able to tell if those 3 things and any other thing you want to add on your own list checks out. And so if it doesn't, then that is grounds for you to say, you know what, this mentorship relationship is not going to work out. And then you can now gradually pull away. It's not every such relationship that must work out. Sometimes you realize it just is not going to work because there's no mutual respect here, right? So in such instances, it's okay for you to, you know what, I'm going to sever this relationship. It's not working and there is no possibility that things will change unless this person changes in the future. And sometimes it could just be you. You just can sense that you are not ready to stand your ground in such situations and hold on to your convictions when you are faced with either subtle or direct attacks on your faith or on your conviction. So you can by yourself realize, I'm not ready for this, and then you take a step back and continue to build your convictions, build your faith until you can take another plunge into that area. But this requires total, complete, utter honesty with yourself. Don't pretend. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you 3 things that you can use to filter your relationships with your mentors, with collaborators, especially people who are older or more experienced than you. 3 questions, 2 minutes. Question number 1, does this relationship make me more or less myself? Am I growing into the person that I want to be, or am I growing into the person that this mentor thinks I should be? Am I losing myself in the process of engaging in this mentorship, or am I growing into the fullness of who I know that God has created me to be? Second question is, does this relationship make me more or less hungry for God? You know, there can be a way that you can be in a relationship with somebody who doesn't even believe in your convictions, but because of the conversations you have where there's mutual respect and you're able to share what you believe and get feedback from them, you will be inspired to go back to study so that you can have more answers to give to them when next you have such conversations. But in a case where somebody is just jabbing you, somebody is just, dragging you, sobbing you, insulting you, whether directly or subtly and things like that, you begin to lose that interest. But even a mentor that doesn't share your convictions will spur you to be more dedicated in your devotion so that you can be better equipped to answer questions that they have or to present your faith to them in areas where you find opportunity. And then finally, does this relationship help me be more excellent in my work or less excellent in my work. That is a non-negotiable because excellence is one of the 3 pillars that we identified in our last video, and it's one of the most important things for a Christian creative. You cannot negotiate on that, because why else am I being your mentee if I'm not going to learn how to be better at my craft? The moment I'm better and I'm a lot more proficient, and you as a mentor, you are not growing enough to have new things to pour into me, then it just makes the relationship one-sided. There's no more mutual benefit, and then it will just naturally just fade away. So you need to ask yourself these 3 questions. Are they pulling you away from God or towards God, whether directly or indirectly? Are they making you more excellent or less excellent because they are not pouring enough into you anymore? Are they making you more or less of yourself? Are they trying to mold you into somebody you are not? Or are they encouraging you in the direction of who God has created you to be, that you know? All right. So we've talked about mentors, and next week we're going to go broader. We're going to be talking about how to build a personal brand as a kingdom creative in a secular space without contradicting your values and without sounding too preachy or pushing people away with a holier than thou identity or mentality, which is unbiblical in the first place. So if this video has been helpful, like, subscribe, share, very important to a creative who would need this. Leave a comment and tell us how it was helpful. And if you are a creative that is a Christian and you have the singular purpose of making pop culture transformed into kingdom culture, then you need to be inside the Vane Academy. The link is in the description. See you next Tuesday.